the start of the century, China relied primarily on missiles and coastal defenses to deny access to its so-called near seas. But in the past decade, it has unveiled new defense capabilities, signaling a shift towards power projection. Why is China making this move when its anti-access capabilities have called into question America's own means of power projection? And why adopt this strategy now? The answer lies in Chinese leaders' perception of their country's rising power. In my new book, TIDES of Fortune, I explore the rise and fall of modern military powers and what they can tell us about American and Chinese defense strategies in the coming decades. Think of how a nation's power relative to other countries changes over time. As a country rises, its economy grows alongside its military capabilities. But this growth eventually peaks and then declines, forcing countries to limit their ambitions. Early and late in this cycle, countries are relatively weak. Yet in their heyday, at the height of their power, countries are strong and capable. This cycle of rise and fall in relative power leads to 4 phases, which can help to predict the national objectives, defense strategies, and military investments that countries adopt. For example, China invested in so-called anti-access systems for decades when it was relatively weak. By the early 2000s, China fielded cheap systems like a roughly $20 million ballistic missile that could hold at risk America's $20 billion aircraft carriers. However, in the view of Chinese leaders, China's fortunes began to rise around the Great Recession in 2008. As Chinese leaders came to view China as rising and strong, they adopted power projection tools such as aircraft carriers. Just like Gilded Age America and Imperial Germany, China's belief in its rising power led to adoption of extensive objectives, offensive strategies, and sustainable systems. The United States is also going through a transformation as the Trump administration rethinks America's place in the world. To understand what this means for the military competition between Beijing and Washington, dive into my new book, TIDES of Fortune.